I appreciate you all being here today. Does everyone have an agenda for our meeting? If not, we do have them available. We'll go pretty much close by the agenda. Of course, this is the Arkansas Amputation Prevention Stand Down Kickoff. We appreciate each and every one of you all for being here. This is being live streamed by the University of Texas at Arlington Education Center. And so we appreciate our Education Center's activities. The purpose of the stand down is to raise awareness of amputation hazards throughout the various general industries and construction industries, not only throughout Arkansas, but throughout the country. Machine guarding has remained for the past several years one of the top frequently cited items by OSHA, not only in Little Rock, but also, again, throughout Region 6. We're especially pleased to have the participation this year of all three OSHA education centers, and that's TEEX, UTA, and Mid-South. And this enhances the overall stand-down activity. Companies conduct the amputation prevention stand-down by stopping work and providing a focused toolbox meeting on topics such as machine guarding, lockout, tagout, and other items. The meeting provides information to workers about hazards, protective methods such as machine guarding, pullback devices, restraints, two-hand controls, and about the company's safety policies in general. During the stand-down period, employers will be able to conduct site activities such as employee training, inspections of machinery where the potential of amputations exist, corrections of any identified machine guarding hazards, and review of the company's lockout tagout program. Again, the University of Texas at Arlington Education Center will again provide a website and the ability for employers and employees to sign up, to participate, record data, and print a certificate of participation. And that link is located on the projector, www.oshastanddown.org. The Texas A&M Engineering Extension Service, or TEEX, will be providing a machine guarding, lockout, tagout short course twice during this stand down period. These courses will be free and open to the public, and a certificate will be provided following this 4-hour training. Training will be held at a site here in Little Rock beginning next Tuesday on the 19th, and it will be also held on the 21st in Camden, in the southern part of the state. UTA, TEEX, Mid-South Education Centers, and the Arkansas Department of Labor's Consultation Division will post resources on their individual web pages which can be used at individual stand downs. And that's fact sheets, flyers, quick cards, training. We have a table back in the back during the break time. Please feel free to take some of that information. That'll be helpful in assisting you in participating in your own stand down at your facility. With that being said, I'd like to bring on the Deputy Director of the Arkansas Department of Labor, Mr. Ralph Hudson.
Thank you, Carlos. First of all, I've been informed that there is very, very important information that I need to impart to you, and that is that there are donuts right over here at the edge of the table. I am Ralph Hudson. Most of you know me. I've tried to be real active as a deputy director in supporting the consultation program. Carlos and I have a real close relationship, both personally and professionally, and so it gratifies me, it really does, to be able to be at an event like this where we have companies from across the state that have said that this is a critically important thing and that we intend to have all hands on deck and begin a concentrated effort to ensure that amputations across this state are as low as possible. As everybody knows, Carlos's goal, and I know our goal at the Arkansas Department of Labor, is that that be zero. And it can be done. And it can be done because there are companies just like you that aren't even here this morning that will be participating in the stand down. Nationwide. Indeed, last year I think we had two foreign countries that actually got involved. This is our third annual. We have set the standard in Arkansas for attention to ensure, attention specifically to amputation prevention. One thing I'd note, and I know Carlos, you and everybody probably in here understands, but for those watching live, or ultimately they'll see this video later, that is not a site to report amputations. That's a site to report information with respect to participation in the stand down. And so even though it says amputation reporting site, don't get confused. First of all, I don't want anybody, don't expect that anybody in this room is going to be reporting any amputations, but we do anticipate that you'll participate and that you'll get that information into the stand down website or the link so that we know and can head count the participation and report both to the feds and certainly to my director that we've had the kind of participation that we anticipated. I'm proud, very, very proud of the work that our consultation division at the Arkansas Department of Labor has been able to accomplish under Clark Thomas's leadership. His team has made a concentrated effort to be a support for companies like yours that intend to participate in the stand down. And so I just want to welcome you and tell you that I am personally and professionally proud of everybody in this room, proud of my team, and proud of the fact that we've said that we want amputations to be a big fat zero in Arkansas, and that we intend in Arkansas to be, like as I said earlier, that we intend to be the model. We're going to set the standard. The feds aren't setting the standard for us. The Arkansas worker, the Arkansas employer is setting the standard. And that standard for amputation is zero. And so that's our goal. I know everybody in this room owns that goal, or you wouldn't be here. And for those that are watching live, same thing. You wouldn't be watching live or even interested in the process unless you had the same goal in mind. So with that, I hope you all have a fantastic kickoff day. I'm going to have to step out and go downtown to another event where I'm moderating a panel. But I will be back for the lunch hour and get an opportunity to visit with you and break bread with you, have a meal, and set, as I said, set the stage for this year's third annual amputation prevention stand down. So congratulations on what you've done so far in setting the standard across the nation and for this third annual stand down. Carlos?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hudson, for those certainly words. I'd like to give also the director for the Arkansas Department of Labor, Mr. Leon Jones, an opportunity to speak also. Mr. Jones?
Well, good morning.
Mr. Jones, you're on camera.
You're on
Oh,
camera.
it's on camera. Okay, all right.
Yeah, just come.
I generally don't like to stand behind a lectern, but I'll do it this time. I didn't come to speak, actually. I just came to kind of observe and kind of see what was going on a little bit. It's a hugely important topic that we're discussing today, amputation stand down. I appreciate all of you all for being here, for doing your job and doing your parts to make sure that people go home with all their limbs each and every day after work. Thank you so much for being here again. And I just came to observe. I didn't come to give a speech. I didn't come to say many words, but I want to definitely say that it's important work that you guys are doing. Thank you so much for doing it, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. This hearing from a gentleman from the Arkansas Department of Labor, it's very important. It exhibits the relationship that federal OSHA has with the state consultation, and that we pool our resources, we work hard together to reach various goals. And that's not only the number of fatalities, but also the amputation. So we appreciate the relationship that we have. Also, I appreciate the relationship that we have with the OSHA education centers, and I want to give them an opportunity to speak a little bit on their programs. First up, we have Mr. J.B. Gregory of the Texas A&M Extension Service.
Thank you very much, Carlos. I'll keep my comments brief and stuff because I know we have some other people to speak. So first and foremost, I want to thank OSHA for inviting us to participate in this very important topic. You know, I've been working with TEACs for 17 years, 16 of those as an instructor. And what'll get you every time is when you have students come into class and you're going to teach a class on machine guarding, because OSHA has a 31-hour course on that. So as we go through that, and usually invariably when we ask people, we ask by raise of hands, how many people do you know have been affected by an amputation? And when 3/4 of your class raises your hands, you know it's an important topic. And then on top of that, to say how many of those incidents actually occurred within the workplace, and all those hands go right back up, you know it really becomes an issue, because all those incidents are preventable. If you need any training help, always turn to the OSHA Ed Centers in UT or with TEACs or with Mid-South, and we'll be more than happy to help you from that and educate your people. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Mr. Bob Braun of University of Texas Arlington Extension Service.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, all of you, for coming today. It's important that we all recognize what the hazards that amputation injuries really present to us. And it's our pleasure as one of the OSHA Ed Centers within Region 6 to support and participate in this event. And third year now, so we hope it catches on and we hope we have an impact. I know we've reached a lot of people, and I know it's had an impact on reducing amputations. We want to continue, as they said, to get the goal down to 0. And we provide, just as the other ed centers, education opportunities, and also opportunities such as live webinars. In fact, we have a live webinar we put together on amputations with all 3 ed centers here in OSHA within Region 6 that will highlight some of the prevention measures on amputation prevention, and that looks at lockout, tag out, and machine guarding. And I really encourage you to look at that. It'll be available starting today, and you just have to log in and you can get some training. And you also get a certificate if you log into the website there. Once you participate, you can get your recognition for participating. And that's a free training video. It's a 1-hour webinar that's going to be available to download and use at your training. So again, we appreciate it, and we're available to provide any kind of resources to help you make your efforts in reducing amputation successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob and JB. As you know, times are a little tougher, and again, we have to pool our resources to get the job done. And later on in the agenda, I'll go over some of the breakdown information as far as amputations that have occurred, how many throughout the region, and how many not only in Arkansas but in other jurisdictions of Region 6. We're going to skip a little bit in the agenda a little bit, and we'll go ahead and start with the program discussions next. We have personnel from McKee Foods that's nice enough to talk about their program activities that they've had as far as machine guarding, lockout, tag out, and how it's been effective for McKee Foods. And as you know, those are the folks that make the Little Debbie's. So we definitely want to support them. They have a very good product. So Mike.
Good morning. morning.
Good morning. Morning.
My name is Mike Parrish. I'm the safety manager, safety coordinator for McKee Foods Corporation. Our facility is in Gentry, Arkansas. We, like Carlos said, manufacture Little Debbie snack cakes and some Sunbelt granola products. Our facility employs about 1,700 employees currently. We ask ourselves the question over and over, why, in light of the training, the emphasis, all of the programs that we have in place, why do we continue to see amputations in the workplace? And when we start looking at that and asking ourselves the questions, why? Is it because we're missing something? Is it because we look at, root cause? We're looking for the true root cause, but are we missing systems issues that could be contributing factors? Are we not engaging the employee enough? Are we not including them in the discussion when we build our programs? Are we making our programs to where they're the most robust program we can have? Or are we focusing on things that really don't impact the prevention side? Are we too focused on having the fanciest tag for a lockout tag that we can find? Are we focused on a program that is easy to understand, but we're missing certain elements in the training? Looking at the data, of course, finger amputations are extremely high. I think there's some 2015 data that shows 94% of those amputations happen in manufacturing. We know that we've led for a long time in that category. So thinking about those things, I look back since I've become a safety professional. How many times have I had the unfortunate incident to investigate amputations? And there are three specific incidents that I've had to investigate, all of which were finger amputations or partial finger amputations. And looking back through those investigations and thinking about, what did we find as the root cause? A lot of times it wasn't that there was a failure in the program or that the training was not sufficient enough. It was the little things. It was age-old work practices that were passed down from employee to employee that maybe management wasn't engaged enough with the employees to recognize that that was a practice, an everyday practice. There was incident where it would be a flaw in an engineering design that wasn't caught until unfortunately it caused an amputation. And management of change. The last incident that we had, we determined that management of change was a big issue. That was something that we knew we needed to look at, but at the same time, wasn't part of the root cause when we did the investigation. We focused in on other issues that were root cause, and that was a system issue that kind of brought that about. So looking at that, again, it's easy to say these are the small things that we often miss. Like Carlos said, we've looked at our program, our lockout program, our machine guarding programs. we've made adjustments over the years, but, you know, they were compliant programs. They were very robust programs, but at the same time, little small things caused these incidents to slip through the cracks. It's just a reminder to me as a safety professional that we have to be ever vigilant, and we have to engage the employees and make sure we have a dialogue with the employees about what is a hazard. In the very first incident that I investigated, it was a work practice for years and years. Many of the supervisors didn't even know that it occurred, where employees would remove a guard and lubricate the equipment while it was running. With a little bit of dialogue with the employees about what, you know, what they face through their daily job, that could have easily been caught and the hazard mitigated. So I encourage you, it's not enough just to review your programs. It's not enough to go and find the latest technology. We have to really stay engaged with the employee. They're the ones that know exactly what happens in the process day to day, and they're the ones that are going to know how best to protect themselves. Thank you.
Mike, I certainly appreciate insight into the machine guarding program for McKee Foods. Thank you very much. At this time, does anyone have any questions or anything that they'd like to ask Mike about their program? Yes, Mr. Town.
I'd like to hear a little more detail about the management of change systems issue.
Okay. Mike?
The last amputation that we,
You wanted to be, that's what they showed it.
Yeah, you might want to come back up, Mike, and
shouldn't we live?
Glad to have you back.
put you back in the spotlight.
No problem.
Yes.
Yeah, the question was pertaining to management of change in that process. Of course, you know, we know management of change is very important. But again, when we find the true root cause, it's often those small systems issues that were contributing factors. And the last amputation that I had the unfortunate cause to investigate, management of change was really a huge contributing factor. We had on this specific piece of equipment ran a specific product that was fairly tall, close to 2 inches tall. Over time, we quit running that product at our facility. We started running it at a different facility. But there were some small guards with openings for the product that it wasn't identified that the new product we ran on that equipment was quite a bit shorter. About a third of that height, which allowed for a larger opening than was needed. There were also some issues there with the guards being bent, which made that opening even larger. It was of no fault of the employees. They, you know, did their job like they always do. But they were rushed at the time when the incident occurred. And in that rush, they stuck their hand inside the product opening, but if it would have been designed like it was supposed to for the new product, and it hadn't been bent, they wouldn't have been able to stick their hand in as far as they did and contact the point of operation. So management of change process needs to be just as robust as your lockout tagout program, your machine guarding program, to make sure anytime you make the smallest change in your process. You introduce new equipment, new products, that management of change process looks at every aspect of it and catches those issues. Any more questions?
Would you elaborate please on the stand down, the importance of the stand down?
Yeah, certainly. I will tell you how important stand downs are. Right, not the last stand down, but the one before that. We have been implementing a new safety management system based on the ANSI Z10 standard for the last 3 years. We've been building all the documents, getting employee input, getting input from all of our other locations around the country for a corporate-wide safety management system. I made the decision not to do the stand down that year, and that was when we had our last amputation. It's very important, again, because it gives you an opportunity to engage the employees, to have them out there looking for hazards, to have them involved in the process of not just mitigation once an injury occurs, but mitigation when the hazard's identified before an injury occurs. To me, that's the importance of the stand down, is the engagement aspect where you can get everyone involved, and not just the employees, but management as well. Get them out there talking with the employees, get them looking at the equipment, and making sure that it's the safest workplace possible. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mike. Certainly the importance of employee involvement in the process to assist in the identification of potential amputation-related hazards is certainly key, and it sounds like something that you all have certainly centered in on. Next up, I want to have a representative of Anthony Forest Products to come and talk about their program.
Good morning. Some of you
Morning.
know me, some of you don't, but I'm Randy Evans. I'm with Anthony Forest Products. Have been a safety professional for around 25 years now, and seen a lot of different things go on, a lot of programs that have been developed and didn't quite work like we thought they would, right? So our company has stepped in and took the approach. We developed the program. We lay it out for the individual to look at, the employees to see, gives them guidance, but they own our program. We do not push the program down their throat as some companies tend to do, right? We think it's the law, we put it there, we follow OSHA, we follow the rules, we lay it where it needs to be. But I'll give you an example. A while ago, driving here, we have a state law that says I cannot drive but the posted speed limit, right? That's the law. That's where we're at. That's what I'm to follow. They tell me that. If I break that, I'm apt for punishment of some type financially, normally. I broke that, right? I drove greater than 65 in one place. It's human nature, behavioral action, right? I knew I could get by with it, so I did. Who better to own that program to make me stop but me? I have to make that decision that I'm going to stay within the bounds that has been laid out for me. So if I run that, it's mine. I make sure it happens. We took, and our safety committee that we had developed, we've added to their job titles, right? They're now amputation prevention professionals. They're safety committee members. They work the whole gamut. As part of their safety committee roles and responsibilities, we've asked them to look at machine guarding. We've asked them to look at products and operations and tell us what can we do to prevent potential amputations, injuries across the board. Since that time, we've been, I had the numbers, but I left them, but around a year now, we've been in this program, pretty hot and heavy. Our company is dedicated 100% to allowing this to happen. Our management is on board, but we've corrected at 2 sites here in Arkansas, somewhere around 70 different potential amputation points that were there. We worked with them every day. The crews that were there before were comfortable. It was good. But as these individuals looked and saw the potential, they brought it forward. Now, it doesn't happen easy and it doesn't happen quick, right? They have the authority to shut down operations. And try that once or twice right off the bat, right? We're fixing to shut down operations and stop production, costing us money. But the potential that's there is greater than the money that we lost. About the second time into it, management on board 100%. They realize this is the way. Our people, their attitudes have picked up, everything rosy, good. They see things, they stop other employees from engaging in bad practices. I mean, we've really taken a turn for the best in a lot of ways with this. So give your employees that opportunity. We all like to say we do, and I said we did for years, but we didn't. Until we just stepped back and said, here, it's yours. We will guide you, we'll give you the information that you need, we'll let you know the rules and regulations. We will help you stay within that. But no longer are we the enforcer, they're the enforcer, and we're there for guidance and support. So that's where our company has stepped in and went, and our success rate, within a year, we have not even had a crush injury to mention as far as fingers go. So it's made a huge difference. We've improved 70 to 80 different projects, like I said, got it where it needs to be. So I think ownership and behavioral-based knowledge, we're going to do what we can do. We're going to do what we can get away with, and we're going to take the chances. But if it's in your house, you're not. So that's where Anthony Boyd with that program.
Is there any questions that you all have regarding Anthony Forest products?
Yeah, go ahead. Move that, put your hand up. I have a question.
Yes.
So what do you think was the biggest kind of turning point when you talked about having employees, associates, start to intervene with others on their peers? That's a difficult thing for people to come to grips with. So what do you think were the important aspects of your program that got you where you are today?
So what got us where we were, and the question is what was the turning point that got us where we need to be as far as employee to management interactions. So we did some training with our management, and we had old management, been there for years. So, the culture was pretty strong, pretty significant, and I'm sure every one of us faced that same obstacle, but we visited, we had training, accept and listen, understand where you're at. Let's talk this through, and we have meetings twice a week where we bring our safety committee in and management in, and they sit together, supervision and management. So it allows them more one-on-one time. They become familiar with each other instead of here and here, right? So they have joined together as one group. We've given our safety committee, actually all employees, but our employees go through our safety committee as a focal point, as a talk to the management group. Everybody's on the same playing field, and it's allowed a lot of good communications between the groups. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's your makeup of your safety committee? Is it just people off the floor, supervisors?
It is. It is strictly people off the floor. We pull our hourly employees in. We try to pick one from each task, right? We have several different operation points and our mechanics, and he and I, we try to pull one from each group. So we have a good solid representation across.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you keep the same group or do you rotate them out?
You know, as of right now, we've been just over a year with this. We still have the same group. We do have a lot of people that are interested in our program, want to be a part of the safety committee. So we've talked about it. We're honestly thinking about going to a 2-year rotation, a 2-year term, and then let them step down and somebody else come in and fill. So right now, we're still with the same initial group.
Any other questions for Randy?
Did you drill down into the cost factor to get your management staff to buy into all this? Did they look at, how did you deal with this cost factor?
Yeah.
Work, you know,
We
stopping
did,
work versus amputation?
amputations come into, I broke into the cost, and unfortunately, we had an amputation of 4 digits on the right hand in 2011 or 12, I forget the exact year. And I was able to pull some costs that directly relate to the company, and if we can prevent these are costs that, you know, go toward the bottom line. Here we are, we can rock and roll and get what we need. And over $400,000 for the loss of 4 digits that come out to the company in whole, not counting the loss of production and any other issues that may come along, plus morale. Think about, you know, this was part of a family. He worked in the group. We tried to get him back in. He just couldn't pull his way back in, and he struggles. He has a hard road ahead of him and a lot of issues he faces. Things that we don't think about when we initially look up front, but it cost us as a company, but it also cost us as the livelihood of an employee, basically. Something you can't put money on, right? So over around $500,000 is what the amputation of 4 fingers cost us once you get to the bottom line. So it does affect your company in multiple different ways.
Randy, would you say that the stronger attention by the company, by management there, started during the first amputation stand down?
It did, absolutely. Yeah, we had talked amputation, and we had talked machine guarding and one thing and the next, and Clark and his group come in and did a presentation for us during our stand down, and I actually had 2 employees come to me and talk about what this meant to them, and they started explaining potentials out there in the field. Clark and them had mentioned, you know, hey, build an amputation team. We don't have the opportunity to pull multiple teams. Our employees are there. Most of you feel the same problems, but they got to work. They got a job they've got to do, and we can't pull them away from that job for a very long period of time, you know, or we lose production and then the bottom line starts dropping. So we already had the safety committee. We opted them in. Let's roll in. We'll add to our safety committee, and they took ownership and run with it. Sure did. And it was that prevention stand down helped us tremendously.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Randy mentioned about amputation teams. Later on, during our working lunch and wrap up, Clark Thomas of the Arkansas Department of Labor will give a presentation to discuss amputation teams. I think it should certainly be noted that the 2 previous speakers that we have had, both Mike and Randy, they represent VPP in Region 6 and Sharp. So these are companies that have chosen to take a higher level of safety and health, and so I'm pleased that we were able to get both of you all in today and you freely discuss your programs. At this time, we're running about right on time. We'll take about a 15-minute break. We'll get started again at 10:30, and we'll discuss the breakdown of amputations. I believe we have donuts and also drinks over here in the corner. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're about ready to get started back. I certainly hope folks was able to not only get some of the information from the back table that may be helpful for you, but the reason that we have these break time is not only for get refreshments, but also to sit and maybe have a conversation with persons that you don't normally talk to, discuss safety and health issues. This is an important part, so thank you for the conversations that you've had. The information that was that you see on the PowerPoint, again, we're going to have the free training that TEEX will be conducting on September 19th. It will be in Little Rock at over at West 61st Street, and on the 21st it will be at Camden. So you can go to that site. If you have not signed up, that's free machine guarding training. You will get a certificate of participation from TEEX. Also, then that's the link to the stand down reporting for amputations. Please, after you get completed doing your stand down activity, please go to the OSHAstanddown.org site and record your data. I think we asked 4 basic questions, and you can put your name and company name and information in, and you'll be able to again get a certificate also. So, and that's how we're able to record the data of how many folks participated and removed from hazards. So please be sure to do those particular items. And between me and education centers, the Arkansas Department of Labor will be sending out reminders to be sure and do that by the end of this month. Information I'd like to talk about now is regarding the breakdown of amputations here within Region 6. Our regional office in Dallas did a very thorough review and have been able to determine that it's over 500 amputations that have occurred within Region 6, and that includes the Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and New Mexico. 67 of those amputations that have occurred here in Arkansas. Last year, at approximately this same time, we were at 82. That is a reduction, but as you all know, 67 persons with amputations, we need to keep striving and working hard, doing all we can to get to 0. And that's where we need to be. And so we will continue to have these amputation prevention stand downs. We will continue. OSHA will use every tool that we have in our toolbox, which includes, of course, enforcement activity. But just as strong as we are in enforcement, we're equally as strong in outreach. And that's why I really appreciate the Arkansas Department of Labor having these worker safety conferences. And as you know, the SHARP VPP Arkansas Annual Conference will be at the tomorrow at the airport, Holiday Inn Airport tomorrow. So if you haven't signed up for that, please do, and it'll be definitely worthwhile. Again, 67 amputations that's occurred here in Arkansas. And as the area director of OSHA here in Little Rock, unfortunately I've witnessed the aftermath of countless amputations, and each time it just leaves a very painful memory for me. Moving parts certainly have the potential to cause severe workplace injuries such as crushed fingers, hands, amputations, burns, blindness. Safeguards are essential for protecting workers from these preventable injuries. The breakdown that we have as far as for area offices here within Region 6, the Austin area office has had 36 amputations. Baton Rouge area office has had 49. Corpus Christi area office, 32. The Dallas area office, 49. The El Paso area office, 16. Fort Worth area office, 49. Houston North area office, 60. Houston South area office, 40. Lubbock area office, 46. Oklahoma City area office, 45. And San Antonio area office, 23. As far as the industries, you'll probably want to center in on what's the top 4 industries here within Region 4 that have reported amputations. And supermarkets and grocery stores, poultry processing facilities, oil and gas drilling and support services, and commercial and institutional building construction. So with those numbers, you see it's not just a general industry issue, but it's general industry, construction. It reaches out to several key industries. And when we look at just for Arkansas, Arkansas has similar type ones: poultry processing, metal processing, or custom metal processing. Those are the top 2 that we have within the state. Yes, sir.
You mentioned supermarket and grocery store
Yes.
applications.
Yes.
Can you give me some idea of what type of hazards or conditions cause those applications, those type of industries?
Right.
I don't know what's happening.
I mean,
Supermarket and deli operations, that would actually be the meat slicers. There's actually some information back on the back table. OSHA has a fact sheet on the use of deli slicers, and that's where it's coming from. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said general construction. You know, that's a pretty broad
Yes, it is.
industry, and do y'all have any information as far as you know, was it had to do with carpenters or concrete workers, electricians?
Right, exactly. And I'd have to look at each individual report.
Right.
The reports that I've looked at here for Arkansas, we've been fortunate where within Arkansas we have not had any reported. So the numbers I gave you is region-wide within the 5-state region.
Yes.
And I'd have to look at the specific reports, and they would tell me exactly what the employee was doing, you know, who the employer is, of course,
Right, that way
and
you
what they were
concentrate.
doing, right, because that is a broad category construction, but it's the specific reports that we have in each individual area office will be able to spell out exactly what the employee was doing at the time.
Yes, sir.
And so the each area office would be able to share that information. And as far as information as it pertains to amputations here in Arkansas, I've shared that with the consultation, and so we've been able to identify what employers, and I know consultation will continue to notify persons of their services that's available, free consultation services that's available for assistance to identify hazards. So appreciate your question. But that's the data that we have available right there. And does anyone have any questions right now on the data breakdown?
You said in Arkansas poultry and then the custom metal fab?
Custom
What
and
was another one that
then
you said?
woodworking.
Okay.
And if you think about those particular industries, you can kind of imagine there's some activities there. And that's why, again, this amputation prevention stand down is for folks to look at these particular items and to identify the potentials. And again, you would not be here today if you did not have management support. And management supports you to come and attend this important meeting. And also, as both Randy and Mike mentioned, it's employee involvement. employees are the ones out there on a day-to-day basis and reviewing. They're working with these particular machines, and they need to have the ability to stop work if something appears to be unsafe. And yes, ma'am.
On the stats that you gave, that's for 2017 to date, right?
Yes, that is to date, and so we still we have till the end of this month to continue to record data. So at subsequent meetings, I will be updating the information. I like to let everyone know within the state or within my email distance of the data that we've got. So, any other questions or anything at this time? Yes, sir.
No, in a lot of those cases, was there guarding in place when those amputations occurred, or was it something that?
Yes. So the gentleman mentioned, was there guarding in place? What we found is that it's either the guarding is there, but it's not adjusted properly, or no, the guarding was not in place. In several situations, as far as lockout tagout, we've had a unfortunate fatality as it pertains to lockout tagout not earlier in the year. And employee training, or the lack of employee training, played a key component in the unfortunate accident. It was a temporary employee. They were employed there at the host for about 2 weeks. And some basic lockout tagout training would have gone a long way to prevent that from occurring. So, yes, sir.
Carlos, what percentage of these amputations are temporary employees? Can you?
It's going to be a very small percentage. In fact, that particular one I'm talking about this year was the only one that we had that was a temporary employee involved in. A lot of the amputations that's occurred here in Arkansas, training or the lack of turns out to be a very big culprit. When you're going out doing your audits, look and see where a particular guard is at. Is it actually on the machine? Is it sitting beside the machine? I know we have some maintenance personnel here. I know a lot of folks are good about, once they have to take guards off, lock out a particular machine to do any type of maintenance or set up work. Ensure that when prior to the machine being activated back on again, make sure that particular guard is back on the machine. Operators, make sure that the machine's not operated unless that guard is on there. Those are basic things. Some people may think that guards are meant to be bypassed and that they pose more of a hindrance and they slow the work down. But the safer facilities are the ones that it's mandatory that you operate that piece of machinery with the guard on. So, any other questions that I can answer on that?
So would it be fair to say it happens a lot when people become complacent in their job then?
Complacency can happen. We do see amputations that are reported to us on employees that have worked greater than 10 years in a position. And I think at that time, you may have persons that will, like you said, get complacent. They maybe lose some respect for the hazards or potential hazards that's there. And that's important to always keep that thought pattern that I could be harmed with this. Persons that have experienced amputations or loss of life on the job, they did not wake up that morning and said, this is a good day to cause harm to myself. to cause issues with my family and things like that. They didn't do that. They're guilty of doing what me and you do every day, and that's just get up and go to our job to support our family. Any other questions or anything before our next speaker? Yes, young lady.
I think it was you that had numbers to show, like, based on the amputations in Arkansas in the last year, how many of them did not participate, how many of those companies did not participate in the stand-down?
Yes, it's a very small amount of employers. When we look at who participated in 2015, 2016, most of the sites that participated in 2015 have not had a subsequent amputation occurrence. We've had a few, but not very many. And that told me and Clark that basically if you participate in this amputation prevention stand down, no matter what state you're in, this is just not an Arkansas thing. This is for any state. In the past, we've had over 16 different states and 2 foreign countries that have participated in this activity, and only a very small percentage have subsequently had a amputation. So that tells us clearly that this is something that you really need to do. And based on the data that we've received, it clearly states that the employers have identified many hazards. When they went through and did self-audits, they've identified many hazards and have subsequently removed many people away from those particular hazards. Mike and Randy talked about earlier how these audits have the pluses that they've had in that, and we'll hear some more from Nucor Steel a little later on about how the amputations having a strong program to address amputations, how it's affected programs. Yes, sir.
What type of gravity and what type of penalty do you place on an amputation that had taken place and your investigation determined it could have been prevented, rather easily?
Right. For the enforcement purposes that OSHA will do, it's going to be high gravity. It's going to be all high gravity based on what potentially could occur, a loss of limb. So it would be high gravity with a high potential, and we'll look at the potential based on the employee exposure. So that's how we make that review on an enforcement level. And I'm sure on a consultation level, you do not have any monies involved, but they will also plug in a gravity and probability.
What kind of money can you expect on a high gravity situation?
Well, on monies, as far as on a high gravity serious issue, it's OSHA's fines have gone up about 78% since August 1, beginning August 1 of last year, and a serious violation would be over $12,000 if you were going to put monetary price. But as Randy mentioned earlier, can you really put a price on a debilitating accident that occurs? That you really can't. But for enforcement purposes, that's where we would be. Appreciate your question. Any other questions? All right, at this time, I'm going to have Randy to introduce a special guest of ours at this time. Randy?
So Clark and Department of Labor and Carlos, and we've talked multiple times about how do we get the points across of amputations and how do they really affect us. If you're not involved, if you don't have an amputation, you really don't see it, right? You picture it, feel it a little bit, but it's not there. It's not right where it needs to be. So it's my privilege to an unfortunate situation to get to introduce a young man here and his family that I've known him and his wife since they were the age of their youngest child here, if not maybe a little bit younger. Knew them all their life. They went to school with my oldest son. They were an inseparable team of individuals as they went through school. Adam played baseball with my son, very active, a very good athlete. A lot of things through life he did. He went to work one day, right? Just like Carlos said, we don't intend to go to work and come out hurt. Today's the day I'm gonna lose both my arms. It doesn't happen that way. It just, through unfortunate events, these things take place. This is a very unfortunate event, but has a great story as it goes along. A lot of things have taken place. I'm gonna ask Adam to come up and speak to you about what happened to him, what took place, and life afterwards. And hopefully you'll pay attention, listen, and grasp where things are at. So Adam, go ahead.
Thank y'all for having me today. Like I said, my name is Adam Graves. I brought my family here today. We have 4 boys. We're missing one because he had commitments with football, but he would be my second oldest, and his name is Clay. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a little bit today, you know, about what it's cost the employee and what it's cost the family of an amputee, you know, that was out there. I was a lineman for around 11 years. I was injured on December the 2nd, 2010. So it's been a while, and probably a lot of safety rules have changed in that regard as far as the industry and y'all's industry also. You know, the day that my accident happened, I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail about it and just put it in a nutshell, but you know, I went to work and we loaded up for the day, and I've been working for this company for about 4 months, so I was a new hire. I was learning them just as much as they were learning me. And I feel like that I was good at what I've done. I've always strived to be good at what I do, and I took pride in my work. But that day, you know, just certain things happened that maybe, you know, caused my accident. But so what we were doing that day in particular, that morning we had, the job was, and I wish I could have people, I'll kind of explain it to you. So it was a new construction build. We were adding a phase to a single phase primary line that was going to some new oil field exploration that they had done in the area. It was around Heflin, Louisiana, is where the place that I got hurt at. But there was a line being built right beside an old existing line. It was my first day there. The crews had been already working on the job, so I wasn't very familiar. First of all, we did not do a JSA or a tailboard assessment, if y'all are not. So, you know, that was one big mistake right there. And a matter of fact, I never done one there in the 4 months that I worked there. And that was the first time, because the companies that I had worked for before, we done them every day. And if you know about my industry, is we can be here 1 second hanging a transformer, and then we're off to another place doing another one. So we're filling out multiple JSAs, and you know, trying to find the hazards that could come up. So that day we'd stretched out probably about, I'd say 30 spans of 1/0 aluminum wire, and the company that was wanting to do this, they were wanting to get into getting rid of, it was actually a utility company, and I had hired in, I had always done construction, but it's still basically the same thing. They were wanting to get rid of contractors and do more of their in-house, so to say. But we didn't really have the tools for the job. You know, I'd always pulled in primary wire, especially when there was hazards of pulling over hot wire with rope machines, and we pulled it out and then used a dolly or a shiv, whatever you want to call it, to pull over. You know, that day I had only my faults that day. I disagreed with the supervisor about how it was being done, and I think that that might have got me off my mind off of what I was supposed to be doing. And the circuit that we were working on actually was held. He had the hold through excuse me, my mind went blank for a while. Through our controller that controls the whole grid there for the utility company. So he left and took it off one shot that day. If you're not familiar with what one shot is, it's kind of like a circuit breaker, but every one of you has electricity here, I would imagine. And what it does is one shot, it means if it feels one fault, that the breaker or OCR, what, it automatically locks out. If it's on regular operation, then you see your lights dim, boom, boom, and on the third time, boom, it locks out. It's just if it's a safety deal in case a limb falls on it or something like that. But anyway, it was taken off, and at the time, you know, we were working on grounded wire back then. If the wire was grounded, then we were, you know, the requirement was that you could work it in leather gloves. So I had leather gloves on, but also what happened was that day is the supervisor had left, took it off one shot, like I said. Well, I was in a pickup truck and not in a bucket truck that day. I had my hard hat and a pair of leather gloves, and my PPE for working hot primary was in the pickup truck. And, you know, I didn't know it was going to leave, and I didn't have any idea that it was leaving. So I didn't have it. So first of all, really I shouldn't have been up there without it. But getting into my accident, so we pulled it off and we were laying it up. You know, it was long spans, 1/0 wire. You can imagine, you know, hundreds of feet of it, and also the tension on the wire was pretty heavy. So I had it in one hand, and it was an old outdated truck that I was in that had been in the mechanic shop, and it was his first time out. So they had worked on hydraulic lines, which you have a pistol grip here that kind of controls your bucket, if anybody, you know, has ever been in there. Well, this one was metal. Nowadays they make them that they're insulated. Well, this was an older truck that after my accident they took it out of service. But so I was coming up, I was looking down the line there and kind of watching the belly of it, bringing it up, making sure, you know. And I was watching a couple other guys that had their hands on it, you know, trying to keep it still, bringing it up. And as I went to throw it up, I just twisted the truck a little bit where it was backwards, and I thought which way it was going was supposed to, and I went the wrong way. The boom touched which is supposed to be, and it came through this hand and out this one. So I felt my first thought and it's kind of crazy. So 14,400 volts. I don't know the amperage on the line, but you know, I felt it and it threw me back, and I remember, get off of it. That was my first reaction. And the next thing I know, I wake up down in the bottom of the bucket, and what's amazing to me is, and what I think that what I think happened was God was showing me, you know, I see my family and my oldest son and my wife, and they're all running, you know, towards me. And for a minute I smiled, and my eyes are still closed. And I wake up and I'm all drawed up. If you know electricity, that it made every muscle in my body just tense up. it hurt my back. I could barely move. My arms were so tight. It took me 2 or 3 weeks to. I'm sorry, y'all. I was looking at my wife. You know, they got me down out of the bucket, and you know I was blacking out, and my teeth clenched so hard that it flattened the bottom. I mean, all my teeth were straight out this way at the bottom. That's how hard my muscles tensed up, and how. But they got me down, and a helicopter lit, and I was on my way to LSU in Shreveport. My wife got the call while she was getting her hair done that her husband didn't know if he was alive or dead. So she drove about an hour not knowing what was going on. That's what it did to my family. You know, my immediate reaction was when I got out of the bucket, it was never about me. It was about what it cost, what was going to happen to them. You know, I'm not going to go into, you know, a lot of detail today about it, you know, but I'll also want to encourage you guys. I'm very blessed today to be here, and I have a great life, and but it's been a struggle. Absolutely. And I just want all you guys here to know today that that are supervisors and that are in management positions that yeah, a $12,000 OSHA fine might be the worst you get or whatever, but think about what it's cost your employees' lives, because it's cost mine dearly. I'm not able to throw balls with my kids, and I'm not able to reach over at night and feel my wife laying beside me. So, I appreciate y'all listening to me today and tomorrow again also, but thank you guys. That's all.
You know, definitely not to take away from what he had, but how many mistakes did you hear from that, right up front, that he could still have both hands, everything still be in place, right? And not had to come talk to us about what took place. Multiple mistakes, from the JSA up to the piece of equipment not being operated when it come out of the shop to make sure it was right. Multiple issues that we have to take care of on a daily basis to make sure this doesn't happen to one of our employees, right? It doesn't end when they walk out the door or when the doctor says they're good. It never ends for them, right? So, great, Adam. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
That's a very powerful information that we've received about a young man's life and his family. And these are things that we need to keep in mind every day, that it's not a given, unfortunately, that we'll be able to go home safely to our families. And so we need to do all that we can to, again, identify hazards and take the proper steps to ensure that we are working in a proactive manner and not reactive. So I certainly appreciate that. I want to have Robert with Nucor Steel come and talk a little bit about their particular program and how machine guarding is done. So, Robert.
you, Carlos. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Clark Thomas, your team. Carlos, your team. Mr. Jones, your team for, which that is Clark and him. Thanks for inviting us to this. I appreciate it. I'm with Nucor Yamato Steel, which is we have a lot of different divisions, but we are a big beam mill. We do bridge construction columns and things like that. So let me ask you a question. When you got up this morning, did your opportunity clock go off? Okay, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about when you woke up this morning, did your opportunity clock go off? We have got such a great opportunity here. And Carlos brought it up and others have talked about it, is networking and talking and meet people we've never met before. Tomorrow, there'll be a lot more people there too. Be a lot more networking, a lot more talking, learning from each other. I need everybody's help. I need your help. I need to just we don't know it all. We talk about these amputation stand down, and Carlos and I was talking here just a while back, and he said, you know, you don't have to start tomorrow, the official day we're having or you don't have to start tomorrow. You can start this week or another week. Well, we have actually been doing this for a long time. We have been looking at machine guarding, lockout. We have done this over every day. We've spent millions and millions of dollars to take care of these things. What you got to do is, and I've got some notes here too. Y'all excuse me. I've been writing notes the whole time we've been talking. So many good things about this, but you've got to get to it's got to go to the floor. It's got to mean something to the guys on the floor. Okay. It's got to mean something for them to know. It's got to come from the heart. It's got to come from here. Okay, we can talk about and man, great testimonies, and we can talk about this, and these guys have got to realize this is about going home to their families. We have, since this bringing up with the amputation stand down, we decided yesterday, and with our management team, and decided that we started talking about machine guarding teams, and that went from. And it's coming from talking about amputations. Well, we went from machine guarding to now we're getting together and we're going to bring it down to the floor. We've got consultants coming in to help us. But we're going to start up. We've come up with 31 teams so far, and we're taking that to the floor. We're getting groups together. We're letting them. What we're going to do is we're going to send out. Okay, we got 3 options. You got 3 teams you can pick. We're going to let those teams pick. We're going to let them decide. We're not going to ask them to volunteer. We're going to say, you pick these 3 teams. And then what we're going to do from that is we're going to get a group together. We've got like 1,000 people out there. I mean, this is admin, IT, I mean, it's everybody. And we're going to take these groups, and we're going to let them develop a leader. A leader will come to the top. It's not going to be a supervisor. It's going to be a leader come from within that team. And then what we're going to do with that is we're going to start all these different teams. From ergonomics to again machine guarding. There's so many opportunities out there, but it's got to be pushed down to the floor too, and the floor up. Management team has got to support it. Best meeting I've been in, one of the best meetings I had yesterday. Such buying in to get this. The management team wants this we want our people to go home safe. We don't want we don't want the heartache. We don't want the pain that this gentleman went through and his families went through. We don't want it. We want our people to go home safe. I've got like 5 safety coordinators, and each one is assigned to a different department. Got to looking at our programs and some of the things we do. A lot of stuff we do.
And some of y'all may agree and may disagree, and that's okay. But we've got a lot of stuff we do that we don't need to be doing. We kind of reevaluated what do we do? You know, with us, we make safety locks, we fetch and tote for people, we do whatever we can do in working with the team. But what we need to do as a safety team is we need to engage this team, be a resource for this team. That's what we need to do. We need to be out there and get involved with these teams. We are involved, but not to the extent we need to be. Gotta get rid of all that stuff. All that stuff. You gotta be out there with your team, working with them. Leadership has got to be engaged. They have got to be engaged with the teams. Got to be. Got to know what's going on out there. Some things we have found from this amputation stand downs. Some things we've got out. We do toolbox meetings. We're doing lunch and learn. We've got, like I said, we've got consultants. We've got guys that have written some of the ANSI standards. We've got all kinds of people that are here helping us. Friday will be an official. We've been doing things through the week, but Friday we'll probably have about 800 people there, at least. And this is contractors. This is our people. This is one thing that some people have talked about is temporary workers. I have a concern for temporary workers because when they come out, and it amazes me that none of them have had it. I mean, there only have been a few that's had an amputation. Temporary workers are so important. They're the people that come in and they do the dirty work. They're the ones that come in and you got to make sure they've got the training. Somebody's got to take care of them. Somebody's got to help them. They got families to go to also. Temporary workers, and we're starting an outage here this week. A lot of temporary workers will be there. One of my main concerns is to take care of these temporary workers. Make sure that we are with them. Make sure they know what they're locking down. Make sure we're helping them. Make sure they understand what it means. Make sure they know what all this energy can do when you don't isolate it. I like to look at it as, if you ever heard about talk about fleas, about training fleas. I don't know if you ever heard the story enough. You talk about training fleas. You put fleas in a jar. I don't know who trains fleas, but you put them in a jar, and they'll jump and they'll keep hitting that lid, and they'll keep hitting that lid over and over. And after a while, you take that lid off, and that's as high as they'll jump. They'll never jump out of the jar. That's as high as they go. Somebody's talking about human nature. It's kind of like those fleas. We have to stay engaged with our people. We have to stay, every day we have to work with the people, keep engaged with them. You got to raise that lid. Take that lid off. You got to raise it. I was going to say a minute ago, some things that we have found and people don't understand is right now it's getting ready to get cold, so we've got heaters coming in. If you ever see these blowers, these heaters, they think somebody somehow buy these heaters and bring them in. They might bring 15, 20 of them in. Well, the thing about it is some of these heaters don't have guarding. The belts, they have the belts, and we got to looking at some of this stuff. If you go to move it, like you got a handle, you can pick it up and move it. But there's a lot of people that take, myself included, we'll just kind of grab it, find a place to pick it up, and we'll move it. Well, the first place your hand goes to is under that. It's got a belt guard, but under that belt guard, you can reach right up under it. But people think that's okay because it came from the manufacturer like that. And that's not right. There's air conditioning. These air conditioning units you get. You can reach. You can stick your. I mean, there's way above half. You can stick your fingers all up inside that fan. But it came from the manufacturer like that, so that's okay. But these are some of the things that we found because of this amputation stand down. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, lockout, tag out, we're revamping all of our stuff. We feel like we've got a good program. We feel like our machine guarding is good, but good's not enough. It's got to be, I mean, it's got to be great. It's got to be the best of the best. It can't be mediocre. It can't just meet OSHA standards. It can't just go to this level. It's got to go above it. It's got to go above and beyond. And that's the way we feel. That's the way you got to have passion. You got to feel it from here. You got to care about people. You got to love people. You got to want people to go home to their families the way they came in. You want them to come, or even better. We educate more people when they come to work. When they go back home, they know more. They take it home to their families, and they teach them. That's what we have to do, and that's what we're doing in nuclear remodel steel. That's what our team is doing with the lockouts, all these programs. But it's a lot of it, believe it or not, it started as far as getting better as amputation stand-up. And I'm so grateful that Arkansas has took it on to start it, to start this. It's home with us. It's home to start this. It's awesome. It's awesome that we can be a part of this. I'm gonna tell you a quick story, and then I'm gonna get down here. Years ago, when I was very young, worked for another company. It was a steel processing plant. And it was back in the day, I'm not even gonna tell you all that. It was back in the day when lockout wasn't even thought about. I mean, it was thought about, we had somebody else lock it out for you. Hey, hey, y'all, go ahead and lock it out, we're out here. You got it locked out? Yeah, go ahead and try it, okay. Stand by, we'll turn it back on in a minute. So steel would come out, and when it'd come out and it'd get to a roll line. It'd roll out to this roll line. And it had these big iron cars, they call them transfer cars, and they'd pick up. And they'd come out and they'd sit down, and they go back to the home position. So they go back to home because now they're waiting on the next bar to come out. And they would turn these things up and carry them across. Well, we were working out there one day, and a chain, it's a conveyor belt. It's a conveyor chain. There's a bunch of them, big, huge chains. But when they come off, if one comes off the outer sprocket, these beams start skewing. You either got to roll out or you got to stop what you're doing and get out there and straighten them out and cut the chain off. What we did was, when the bar would come out, and as it go across and pick up, and while the other bar would full of log out there, we'd get out with a torch, and we cut that chain. I'm talking about 30-something years ago. Giving my age away for sure. We get out there and we'd cut that chain. And there's people that were helping that came down. It's my job. And all we cared about was rolling that steel. So we were out there cutting that chain. Had a guy, that hard-working guy, one of these guys that that's a go-getter, gonna come down to help me. So he comes down to help me. We're picking these bars come up, they go across. We jump out there and cut on that chain. Well, by this time we're waiting, okay, here's the bar, so now as the cars go back home, we just kind of get out of the way, don't step off the track, let the cars go back. Well, this next time, the bar comes out, comes up, turns up. The guy that's helped me forgets about that those cars have got to go back. So it grabs him by the pants leg. Still affects me today. it grabs him by the pants leg and goes back to the home position. And in that where home is, the cards are down, it goes into a table. The cards are like so wide. Where they go into is just barely fits. They just enough room just to squeeze in there. It grabs him, starts pulling him in. He grabs me, and he's screaming, "Help me! Help me!" It pulls him in the table. And I'm not tall. He's already on about this. He's about this tall. Well, now he's down to here. Still pulled him in that table, and he's got me. And I'm at the table with him, and I'm standing there. He's got his head in my chest, and he's screaming, "Why me? Why me? Why is this happening?" I can't do nothing. I've got him under his arms, and I stand there. What feels like forever, forever. We got to get down and cut the table out, and I'm young. I mean, I was young back then, man. This is something. It was very traumatic. And they ended up amputating. Thought he was going to lose both of them, but he lost one of them, just below his knee. And I still know him today, and he's doing well today. He's fine today. But he still had to deal with that. His family had to deal with that. I had to deal with that. It's affected me, but it's made me a better person. It's made me a person. That's why I'm good at what I do today, because I care about people, and I know what it does. I know what the hurt and the pain that I went through, all the stuff he went through, all the surgeries, his wife, his kids. So I'm going to wrap it up, but I just want to share that with you all. I will tell you one thing, just on the light side. I was talking to him here a while back, and he said he was out in the field at his house. And he said he heard a pecking, tat, 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 tat. I said, "What in the world was that?" He looked down, the snake was hitting his leg.
Don't say goodbye.
Everybody knows. All right, thank you all.
Thank you very much, Robert, for that insight and as far as activities at Nucor Steel, and then certainly your personal review. We certainly appreciate that. Before we break for lunch, I want to let you know that here in Arkansas we have a Arkansas Sharp VPP Association, and it's been very instrumental as far as in getting a lot of things done. The backbone of the Worker Safety Conferences, as you know, tomorrow will be the VPP Sharp Association annual conference at the Holiday Inn Airport tomorrow. And I want to give Todd Franks the opportunity, representatives, to come and talk a little bit about that. Thank you, Todd.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'll keep this brief and stay away from the door.
Between you and lunch.
That's right. But I would like to say a few words about our association. I am their chairperson. I'm still working on trying to let someone else be the chairperson, but they like what I'm doing. But what we do is we have an organization that meets monthly. Doesn't matter what size your company is, what organization, what background you have, what industry you're in, you're always welcome to come attend. We try to have some type of takeaway training opportunity, and we have what we're doing right now, the networking and sharing what goes on with different companies. We get to actually ask OSHA and Department of Labor questions with no strings attached, and no surprise visits the next day. So it's really a great organization to be part of, and I'm happy to be proud to be part of it. And I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already registered, to come to the conference tomorrow, if you can. And also check our website to see when our next meeting's at. We meet every third Friday every month except November and March. but we have a monthly safety training program where we meet, we share ideas, and it's all about safety. And I know you're the right kind of people that care about other people and their safety, so we'd love to have you attend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Todd. I'm certainly fortunate to be area director over a state that has a lot of ways that you can plug into safety. And through the Arkansas Department of Labor, they've certainly given me the ability to present OSHA update information throughout the state. And that's been a pleasure, and it helps OSHA quite a bit. So at this time, Clark, I'm going to turn things over to you for lunch.
I'm not going to stand in front of the door. Okay, we thank Nucor for being the major sponsor of the meal that's coming up. Thank you, Anthony Forest Product, also, and Todd for these. They made it possible. Since we don't have any money at the Department of Labor, we couldn't sponsor it. And I know many of you all would have done it, and so we don't want you to feel bad at no cost. You all can furnish it next year. So why don't we get ready? The lunch should be ready. Are you all ready? Let's go. And we'll come back in and we're going to do something briefly to talk about how do you set up an amputation prevention team. Okay, let's get ready to go.
Hope everybody had an enjoyable lunch. Again, I want to thank Nucor Steel for sponsoring the lunch today. So, Robert, thank you very much to you and your company. We appreciate it. Next up, I want to do a couple of things. One is be sure and after your individual stand down that you can conduct, be sure and report your amputation activities, your stand down activities to the website www.oshastanddown.org. That's with 2 D's. oshastanddown.org. Once you enter your information in, you'll be able to print out a certificate of participation. Also, remember about the training, the free machine guard training that's going to be conducted in the Little Rock area beginning next Tuesday, and then in the Camden area in the southern part of the state on next Thursday. So next up, I'll introduce someone who really doesn't need any introduction. He's been integral in the state of Arkansas for, I'm going to say over 40 years. I'm going to be nice. Over 40 years.
Thank you for that.
And the program director of OSHA consultation, Clark Thomas, is going to discuss some information on amputation teams.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm telling the young ladies over there, we'll be out shortly. First, I want to give some attaboys to people that help make me be okay at the office and not get fired. Our team over there, we have some people that's with us right there. Tonya, our supervisor, and Olsen, our supervisor. And if y'all just stand, let them just, I want them to see you, maybe put an eye on you all. I appreciate them so much. They take care of all of them. In my past few years, I now know how to do 2 things. I know how to turn the computer on. And now I just learned how to log off. And the rest of it, I call Tony and Olsen. I tell them to help me. When Dolly left, I said, no, what am I going to do now? Now Tony and Olsen will come in and they're taking care of it now. So I appreciate them, what they do. But the field people, and when I say field people, that's not trying to belittle them. But these individuals have worked so hard out there, and I think they give us credibility out there in the field. So if our industrial hygienists and our safety staff would just stand, and let for them to see who work around us. I appreciate all that they do for us. Okay, thank you all so much for being here with us. Our director does a good job, and our deputy director who was here earlier. But then I just want to give an attaboy to Carlos for being a team player, not just with the state of Arkansas, but for the people in the state of Arkansas. He really has the welfare thinking of every worker and every employee. He is here to make safety work and create a culture in Arkansas that is second to none. That's a safety culture. So I thank you so much, and also thank you all for being here to make this happen. And the one that's presenting, was that a powerful presentation that we had earlier this morning? And then what Robert gave us too, and everyone that have been talking from the companies and everyone else. I'm going to hurry and go through this. Carlos have already told you how many amputations we've had. Carlos, as of August, when you gave me that information, and by the way, because of the state of Arkansas, people have joined in with us. We came in the top 5 in the Southern United States Legislative Council group as a result of this amputation deal. And so we placed, and we were invited to go down there to Biloxi and all of that. But because of the work of our staff and the people in the state of Arkansas, we were able to go down there. So we're achieving things because of what you all are helping us to do. And so Arkansas now feels that's on the map. Okay then. And
Can I ask you to go by the slides so we can get both of you together? Get closer to
go by the slide?
Yes, if you don't mind.
It's hard for me to do two things.
Well, you did, yeah. You don't have to get that close, but this, in the vicinity.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, anyway, Carlos had already given this number, and I mentioned a few minutes ago before I kind of detoured from my thinking. As of August, only 4 companies that participated in the in the stand down had an amputation, a reoccurrence of an amputation. So that percentage speaks well of what this amputation stand down does. Let's go here. We have 27 workers a day suffering from amputation and hospitalization. Again, information that you gave us. I think that's important information for us to consider. But this is not just an arc. This is regional wide. Am I right? Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's good to have that information. The poultry processing is among the most dangerous industry it is, as far as amputation goes. I said it's among them, not trying to just point them out, but they deal with a lot of things that create amputations. Here, you see this number here. It's a breakdown from information that came from Carlos again. The 29 states covered by OSHA. For the first 21 months, there was 17,533 injuries, 13,000 were hospitalization, 4,000 were amputation. So you can see that there is a big concern for the problems that are happening in our industries. The penalties for these the 2 operations, it is a poultry operation. You see the 700,000, 328,000. These are, and again, it doesn't cover the suffering that people go through. So therefore, we just want to point out why we think it's necessary to have this stand down. This is a breakdown. I think, Carlos, you may have gone through that, but anyway, this is a total of all the injuries, information that came from you, dealing with the lockout, tag out, and you can see the breakdown of the total monetary penalties, the type of industries that's involved. This is good information, I think, for the management level people to have to go back, go through this information, see can you identify yourself as a part of this list, and make it a part of your safety meetings. Make it a part of your safety meeting to talk about that. Anyway, here, let me just skip down and go to what I'm supposed to be covering. National Emphasis Program, again, see what came in. These are some of the things that you should look for when you get ready to do, try to prevent amputations. Here's some things that you really need to look for. The regular operation of the machine, the setup, the clearing and jamming, the making, the adjustments, all of these things here. Look at those as you go around to do your stand down. This is some of the things. This is your laundry list that you should train your people on. So when they go to look at a machine, they're able to actually take that list there and somewhat deal with it. But every machine, analyze your machine. What machine do I have in my place of work right now that could possibly cause an amputation? Well, you see that right now, you should be able to somewhat visualize that machine at your place of work and say, okay, which one of those machines do I have that we do this type of operation that could cause an amputation? And as Randy stated earlier, you don't look for the obvious hazards. you look for potentials. Where are the potentials? And as was stated earlier, that you don't also just don't, you look at the change in management, the old habits that you used to have, the old procedures. All of those things should be included in this stand down as you're going through it. Okay, that's some of the challenges that we would ask you to look for. And the stand down, Carlos, we're saying stop operation.
Yes.
Go and look at it and see what it is. But we also not only go and look at it, but we would, as we did with a few other operations that we went around and talked to, not only did they go and conduct an actual survey, but they took time out to have informal training. Informal training. They did a training process before they went through this, because you got to get a buy-in. Because if people just go out and conduct a visit, I mean, just go and do a survey, you really haven't received the buy-in. You have to convince people that what you're about to do is actually beneficial, is actually needed. So that meeting that you would have before you actually go out on the floor, I think it's worth its weight in gold. So have the meeting, talk about these things, and hopefully that you can get a buy-in. Okay, anyway, this is just talking about the stand down. Okay, here we are right here. Stop work. Have a focused training session on machine guarding and lockout tag out. Again, complacency. Someone talked about complacency. We do go out and visit with companies, and complacency play a great big role in some of the things that are happening. But the question should come in your mind, why are the employees complacent? Where does complacency come from? Is it because of a lack of management, not pushing the idea, challenging the employees? Where does it come from? How does it happen in your place of work? So if you find out complacencies are there, develop a method on how to address complacency in your place of work. Conducting a stand down, we see what we have here. And if you would like to take this presentation, OSHA Tony would make it available for you all to get it if you would like to have that. Again, here's some things that you would like to utilize. Okay, Carlos gave you that information on the stand down.
Can you go back 2 slides? I missed something on the bottom. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Got it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Could you comment on avoiding the use of PPE?
That's what I was just going to read.
Okay. There are some areas where PPE actually can create a hazard within itself.
Gloves and rotating equipment.
If you're using equipment that can grab the leather glove, whatever, pull the hand into the operation, this type of thing here, it may seem that you're protecting the hand by using the glove and all of that, but if it creates a hazard because of the moving parts and all that, you shouldn't use it. That's part of the job hazard analysis that you really should go through prior to doing any of these type of things. I mean, a PPE, that's what many of you, all of you in here, have already conducted a PPE assessment, right? According to 1910-132. You do that PPE assessment, and you will determine whether you should use or should not use PPE on a piece of equipment. Yes, sir.
Could you go back a couple of slides to where you had the inspection punch list? One thing I found was there needs to be a clear delineation from management with respect to unscheduled maintenance. Which of those things is the operator going to do, and when does the maintenance person come in instead of the operator?
None of our employees better be working on any of their machinery. It's strictly maintenance.
The unscheduled maintenance, in my experience, that's the difficulty. Sometimes companies don't want to pay to have a maintenance person come in. They want the operator to do it. And the operator ends up getting over their head. Maybe they forgot to do lockout, tag out because they're in a big hurry or whatever.
That's where the employer has to make that determination of what they're going to have the operator doing and what they're going to have maintenance doing, and that should be spelled out. When it comes to lockout, tag out, that should be spelled out in their written procedures. So it should be written documentation of who's doing what on there.
I'll just piggybacking on what you just said. No maintenance should be done without a person have been authorized, and definitely they should have the proper training to know how to do these type of work. And if it's, okay,
We've had close calls due to that. We've recently, the last 2 months, in each of the safety meetings at all 5 of my facilities, we've tried to get them, don't play maintenance. Be patient, call, get a maintenance person on the job and not do that, because we've had some close calls, vertical dock levelers, things of that nature. These people, if the button doesn't work, they want to stand behind it and see why it doesn't work. So we've had to stop it, we've had to cease it.
Just focus, and did you change your procedure there,
We
to
just-
train to it?
If they're not in maintenance, they're not to try to fix it. They just need to sit back and call. We know they're losing time or whatever, but still yet, you just have to be patient, wait on the maintenance guy to get there. He's a radio call away.
okay, that's the key right there, is the communication with the employees. Failure to communicate boundaries, it really, you're really loading the gun for something to happen. They need to know that production is not just number one, and that you're not going to make management angry if you have to let the machine stay idle for a pretty good while. But that has to be communicated. Sad to say, there are some companies don't communicate that type of language. It is production, production, production. So it has to come from management. Management has to make sure all of these things, these barriers are removed, where employees feel comfortable doing these type of things, so communicating and not operating or working in an unsafe manner. Okay, we have that, we have that, we have this, we talked about that. This amputation prevention team, that's what we want to really go to. How many of you have an amputation prevention team? I know, you have one. How many of you have an ergonomic team? That you have an ergonomic team. What other teams do you all have there? That's been, I know a safety team, but I'm talking about branching off. Got an ergonomic team, the VPP people got what other type of team do you all have?
Safety management teams. We use a lot of ad hoc teams that are pulled together to investigate injuries, forklift incidents.
Okay, and here what we're saying is that this amputation prevention team should be established to deal with have specialties, the ability to actually know what amputations and potential amputations are. So you select those individuals, but once you select those individuals, give them some criteria on what they should look for, what things that may cause amputation. So you're training these individuals not just to do housekeeping surveys or electrical surveys, they're actually conducting amputation surveys. So if you got a team, on even your safety team, and you say, okay, this month here, the first of the month, we will look at general unsafe situations, where the conditions are asked. But for this month, for this day here of this month, we're going to go out and do nothing but amputation location, whether they're obvious or whether they're potential. We're not actually, don't look for electrical. If they jump out, yes, write it down. But other than that, today's inspection will be zeroed in on nothing but amputation. And so therefore, that's what this team would really be doing. When they go out and look on this day, it is actually amputation. Select individuals from various areas of the plant to inspect in areas they're not familiar with. You know what? Why that's necessary. Familiarity sometimes can make you be where you can't see the forest for the trees. So therefore, you want to bring people in to actually look for things that may happen. Select a diverse group. Manage them hourly out. You see all that information right there. Why would you have management involved there? And one of the reasons you want to have management involved is because you got some cost factors and all of those things when you look at it. But once you see it, then you'll be able to dialogue with one another and talk about this potential. Yeah, the cost may be there, but look at what could happen. And this person here could lose his finger or whatever else could happen. And through this dialogue, and if the management is there, then you may not have as much of a pushback when these individuals are actually on ground floor seeing what's happening. So you want to make sure you have those people involved. Develop a checklist, and we've just pretty well gone through that. At each machine that you're going to, if I'm going to look at a mechanical power press, whether it's full or part revolution, I need to, if I got a checklist, because I'm not a mechanic, but I do have some idea about amputation, but give me something other to go by. And that would enhance that person's ability to look at every part of that machine. Normally, people will do this right here when they go on an inspection with a safety team, and I've seen this, is that we have these generic things that we look at. We walk around, we take a quick glance, and we're through with our visit. But if you go to a machine that have a variety of areas where amputation is, but you designate this part here, make sure that those things are properly protected. Make sure that the guard has not been tampered with. And these are things that Mr. Rogers said. Make sure that if you have a change in the product that creates a problem. All of these things need to be noted, but if you're on this amputation prevention team, then you would know somewhat what to look for. Okay, so therefore, that amputation prevention team is extremely important. Determine the procedures are in place, the trained team members on the inspection technique. They're very important, because individuals that got the know-how, that you have this training, but a lot of our employees, you got them on the team, but they've been brought in to make widgets. That's not their specialty. So therefore, you got to equip them with the working knowledge on how to do this type of work. But we put people on the safety team in order to say we have a safety team, but what type of quality do they have as far as going around and looking at these items and actually coming up whether the hazard exists, and then coming up with the understanding of how to abate that situation. It's very important that we as our professionals equip these other people on how to do this job. And that's very important as we're going through this amputation stand down. Allow the team member adequate time to identify amputation. That's very important. How much time do you spend conducting your stand down? How much time you spend? Anybody want to chime in on your stand down? Yes, sir.
An hour yesterday.
An hour yesterday. Okay. We got 1 hour. But it's amputation. Remember, it's not the global.
Another employee, if that employee, if it's investigated and it's found to be true, then they're terminated or whatever the case may be. But also the employee that started it has to be able to back it up. If not, they're out as well. I mean, if it's false, malicious, vicious, I mean, it's, part of the contract, but, I mean, that works both ways in our facility, because you can be terminated for either side of it.
I think all that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. If ownership management, if they don't buy in, you're not gonna have a relationship. You gotta somehow get that started, then you get things going the way that they're supposed to go.
And I bow that.
And I would say that relationship.
That's a problem.
And what they're saying is, you give us a bad name.
Yeah.
Okay, and so therefore, the fear tactic on a temporary worker is that I'm going to go there and I'm not going to create any type of waves, even if it means putting myself in harm's way. And that's not with all employers. That's with some of the employers that are existing. But as soon as these temporary workers spread the word, you better be careful when you go to these companies, because if you do, they may target you and may do this here. Then all of them pretty well have the same mindset. So then, anyway, use this right here as far as trying to do that. And the last one is promote awareness and make the team an integral part of your company safety program. So that's what we're really talking about. And that's what we really wanted to try and do this right here. We're not going to worry about that. We want to just get into that area of that amputation prevention team. So since I finished trying to talk about it, how many of y'all feel comfortable trying to implement an amputation prevention team? Trying to go forward with that. I think that's very important. If our staff can be of any help to you as far as with the stand down and whatever, I know our supervisory level will definitely be there to help you. We have a consultation program that can come out and serve you and work with you free of charge. My deputy director said y'all paid forward. Prepaid. I got to try to remember what he was saying, prepaid. But nevertheless, we're there to help you. And so if you would like our services to come and assist you between September 14th and September 29th on this stand down, let me give you 2 numbers you can call if you all would like to call. Even if you don't want to call the numbers fake like you're writing it. Anyway, The number is 501. This is Tony Cooper, 501-682-4527. That's Tony Cooper. And the other person is 501-682-4516. That's OC Robinson. Give them a call, and they will make sure that you get some type of assistance. And if you call them, they may just let me come along with it, and I appreciate that. But nevertheless, we thank you all so much. And Kanisha, who is presenting, she helps. She's part of this team too. So, Carlos, can I share something, and then
Yes,
I'll be
please.
through. Here are the booklets. I know that y'all, Key and all of those, Tim, my friend, you all have those. Here are the booklets that were put together by many of the people here in this room right now. It covers setting up an amputation prevention team. It covers a lot of stuff. And these booklets here are available to you. We have one dealing with sawmills and woodworking. We have one dealing with poultry. One dealing with general machine industry. One with grain handling and processing, cleaning, and rice mills. We have die casting and metal fabrication. We have general industry too, which includes also the public sector. And then we have one with construction that you gave us some information on. And all of these right here, we do have some out there now. If you have any idea that you would like to have general industry, woodworking, whatever, we do have some right here that we brought for you to carry with you. And again, we got information on how to set up that amputation prevention team. So we'll be glad to carry it with you today. So with that in mind, thank you. Have any questions before I get down? Good. Carlos?
Great job, bro. All right, thank you very much, Clark, for presenting that information on amputation teams. So, and again, this is not just for sites within Arkansas for the viewing public. This is for anyone in any state that want to do more as it pertains to amputations in the workplace. I hope that today's presentation has been helpful and is truly a strong kickoff. Please feel free to take this information that we've discussed today, information that's out posted, information that's posted on the TEECS and UTA and ADOL work sites. Though that's information, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've already done that information. All you got to do is hit print and share it with your staff and go through the kickoff activity. And we're really excited about this year's, again, because we have all three of our Region 6 OSHA Ed Centers involved. I want to thank our Dallas Regional Office for supporting Arkansas and the things that I do. I want to thank the Arkansas Department of Labor, and I'm just so happy about the relationship that we have with consultation. And does anyone have any questions at this time? We've got a gentleman right over here.
The companies that participate in a stand down at the location, get any type of acknowledgement from state or OSHA?
Yes, and that's that website, the OSHAstanddown.org is where you go in and actually report your stand down activity. And once you put that information in, you can hit submit, and you'll have the opportunity to print off a certificate of participation as far as in that. And that's very key because folks want to be acknowledged for a job well done. I'd certainly share that with your employees. Let them know the positive steps that the company is making. And you'll have a much stronger, much easier time retaining quality employees. Mike mentioned earlier about onboard and new hire orientation. Let them know of strong company policies as it pertains to safety and health from the very beginning. Let them know what's expected. And I guarantee you, employees will come to you and say, you know, at previous places I worked at, we didn't do this type of thing. We weren't, safety wasn't on the forefront. quality workers will stay at quality workplaces. And I know a lot of you all can give testimony as it pertains to that. And if there's anything that the Little Rock Area Office can do, the Arkansas Department of Labor, the Sharp VPP Association can do, there's a lot of associations, Northwest Arkansas Occupational Safety Group, a lot of groups throughout the state. I encourage you all to get plugged into safety here in Arkansas. It's not a hard thing to do. Some of you all, I've known you all the whole time since I've been here since 2008, and you all have always been strong workers. I'm always looking forward to working with workers that are truly wanting to make a change in the workplace. There's a reason why the Arkansas has one of the lowest fatality rates here within Region 6. And it's because we use every tool in our toolbox, enforcement, outreach, and we work well together in the strong interest of safety and health. And we'll continue doing that. As long as I'm area director here, we will continue doing that. So I want to thank each one of you all for taking time out of your busy schedule for being here. Bob, I want to thank you and UTA for broadcasting this. If you don't have anything else, Clark, we are dismissed, and thank you all very much. Thank you.